listening to the Sports Circus, and I'm Mike Golick.
Welcome to the Sports Circus. I'm your Ringmaster Sal, live from Las Vegas in the AMP TV studio, AAMP.TV. Today's show is brought to you by Chicago Food Favorites on Facebook. Yes, it's just a page, folks. Make sure you go to Chicago Food Favorites, like, subscribe. Actually, you don't even have to subscribe. Just like and follow. Put lots of comments on there. We don't get any money for doing this. We just dig it because it's about good food from Chicago and everybody that shares in with really good foods from one of the culinary capitals of the world. Again, that's Chicago Food Favorites on Facebook. And yes, everybody from coast to coast is going to hear this announcement. Chicago Food Favorites on Facebook. And of course, a nice round of applause for Chicago Food Favorites. All right, a big welcome to everybody listening in on our CBS, NBC, and Fox Sports affiliates and independents from coast to coast, from Honolulu all the way down to South Florida. Everybody watching on Cox, Comcast, Spectrum, Frontier, Time Warner, and WOW Cable TV. Thanks for joining us, as well as, of course, everybody on Facebook and Instagram and YouTube and whatever, but also everybody on Hotel TV in over 600,000 rooms from coast to coast and upscale hotels and resorts in all Nielsen-rated markets. Thanks for tuning in today on the Sports Circus. Yes! All right. So, look, everybody watched, well, not everybody, but a lot of people watched the national championship game between Michigan and Washington. And there was a lot more going on here besides just a football game. Folks, look, if you follow this as well as many other people, and you say, wait a minute, something looked a little off in this game. What was really happening? Okay, first of all, we saw Michigan beat the brakes off of Washington in the first place, which I have to tell you was remarkably predictable. Because first of all, Michigan is essentially a pro team. They're out there with a pro coach. They're out there with three offense, defense, and special teams. All three teams were essentially pro caliber. This is a very good squad, and they've been the best from the beginning of the season all the way to the end. There's no mistake and no reason why they wouldn't win that game. As a matter of fact, Sal the bookmaker from PlaceYourBet.Vegas, PlaceYourBet.Vegas, where you get all of that great sports prognostication. Listen, folks, it's not about what the numbers say when you're making these bets. Think about this. It's about what? It's about what the money wants. That's it. Doesn't matter what the weather report is. In this case, they were playing indoors. But typically speaking for these games, we'll get into the NFL in just a little bit. It doesn't really matter about the weather report, who's injured, are they playing indoors, outdoors, whatever the hell. Is it on turf, is it on grass, who's doing whose wife? None of that stuff matters. You have to know how to follow the money. If you know how to follow the money, you'll do very well in this betting business. Of course, I'm here in Las Vegas, in the betting capital of the world, right? This is the whole, I don't know, I could say it's basically like the corruption capital of the world. It seems to be, nonetheless. But nonetheless, if you look at how these games unravel, right? We think about, hey, that call didn't seem right. Now, we didn't see a whole lot of that. We saw some tilted Michigan's way yesterday. But let's face it, Michigan was going to win that game no matter what. Penix played with 10 fingers wrapped around his throat. And you ask why. I'll get to that in just a moment. Back to this betting thing. The reality is, folks, if you know how to follow the money and you see which way the money is going from the opening line all the way to the closing line, you'll know exactly which way to bet in these games. It's not a lot of mystery, but you got to know what you're looking for. Go to PlaceYourBet.Vegas and you'll find all of that information. You'll actually be able to talk to somebody that knows just a little bit about this whole betting business in the first place. So believe me, don't blow your hard-earned money on the coin flip. I mean, seriously, some people actually do bet on the coin flip, right? They bet on that for the Super Bowl, for example. It doesn't make a difference to me. But end of day, you got to give yourself a fighting chance. So again, back to this Michigan complete domination of Washington. It wasn't a mistake, folks. And it wasn't that Penix had a bad day. Listen, Penix doesn't play those kinds of teams week in and week out in the Pac-12. But guess what? What we saw was a preview of what's to come next year when Washington joins what? The Big Ten. Because think about this. The Big Ten now goes from the Pacific all the way to Atlantic, right? They've expanded. You got 4 teams now in the Pacific Division. I'm surprised they haven't added a 5th. They may get to that one. But reality is, what you saw is the power of TV contracts, the power of TV money, and yes, what you really saw was a preview for the Big Ten Conference, which, hey, I'm a proud member of the Big Ten Conference as well. Yes, go Boilers, although they had a rough game today. The reality is that you saw a preview of what big-time football across America is going to look like. And I'm not talking SEC. No, because the SEC is rather focused basically from Texas into Florida, right? That's basically SEC world. But the Big Ten covers from coast to coast, and this was a showcase of what's to come. So you think of these big contracts, whether it's with Fox or with CBS or whomever, the reality is this is exactly what was supposed to happen. And of course, look, the game is what it is. And you saw a team that was very, very well-rounded and expertly coached against a good team, not a great team. And I'm not so sure it really was what the Pac-12 was the best that had to offer. I mean, really, the best quarterback, arguably the best quarterback in America this year with the numbers across the board was Bo Nix. Sorry, everybody in Auburn listening in on WAUD. Bo Nix was the best quarterback in America, despite the fact that Caleb Williams had a better year this year than he did in his Heisman winning year the previous year. What a conundrum. The reality is Oregon actually was a better club. They just didn't win the game when they needed to win the game, if you know what I mean. It's not going to say that Oregon would have put up a better battle against Michigan. Michigan was the best team all year. They led the nation in points against all season. I think it was 12 or 13 points, whatever it was. And now it wasn't in takeaways, but in total yards against as well. Michigan was that good on the ball, and they just had to be average at best to win this game. But they ran for 300 and some odd yards. I mean, they rushed up and down the field. In the first quarter alone, they had 150 yards, whatever the hell it was. But the reality was Michigan won for all the right reasons, and Washington wasn't even in the game in the first place. And as I said a week ago, that the national title game was played between Alabama and Michigan in the Rose Bowl. That was really your national title game, a very close game there. And Alabama every year, whether you like them or not, Alabama is there year in and year out. Did they belong in the Final Four teams? They probably did. Did Georgia belong in the Final Four teams? They probably did. But you couldn't have 2 SEC teams, just like you couldn't have 2 Big Ten teams, because even Ohio State with 1 loss, their 1 loss was to Michigan in a very good game. Doesn't matter what happened in the bowl games afterwards. Same thing with Florida State. Florida State should have been in there, right? So technically you would have had a Big Ten team, an ACC team, an SEC team, and maybe, I don't know, who knows, maybe a Pac-12 team. But end of day, you didn't have the right 4, so the national title game was really played a week ago in Pasadena, California. That was a very good squad going up against a very good squad. And those 2 teams were fairly evenly matched. And so, really, the game you saw between Washington and Michigan was sort of what you would expect if you really step back and look at it for what it was and not what the hype and the BS, the backstory about Penix and crap like that. Let me tell you something, folks. Penix was, first of all, an Indiana reject. Yes, a reject from Indiana University, which is in the lower tier of the Big Ten in the first place. You don't believe it? Go back and look at his numbers. His numbers were not stellar. They were nothing special. And then think about this. All right, he gets hurt, and then he follows his guy over to Washington. All right, great. You had a new lease on life. Now you don't have to face the Big Ten where it's smash mouth football. So now they go play a finesse conference in the Pac-12, right, where there's not a lot of defense played there, which is right up Penix's alley. Of course, the guy's going to throw like wild. Yeah, he was a Heisman finalist, whatever. Again, Bo Nix had better numbers. But reality was that Penix got away from the Big Ten that just kicked his ass. And, oh, by the way, yes, now you're in the national title game against, big bad Michigan from where? From the Big Ten. And whether it was Michigan or Ohio State or Penn State, Penix would have got his ass kicked again. It didn't matter who they were playing, but this time it was big bad Michigan, and they put a good old-fashioned ass whooping on this kid. And don't think for a second he didn't have thoughts of him going into the big house and get whooped up in there, or going into the horseshoe, get whooped up in there. If you think that had nothing to do with it, you need to have your head examined, because at the end of the day, Penix was nervous. He was like, and I don't know if this was the reason, but you could see he was really nervous in this game. Penix did not belong in this game, folks. Absolutely not. Somebody had asked me, well, what do you think of the national title game? I said it was going to be 31-17. It would be 31-10 late. Washington gets a garbage time touchdown, and I had Penix throwing for 230, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Well, guess what? He threw 255, 1 touchdown, and 2 interceptions. So I was right there. By the way, that's Sal the bookmaker. Place your bet. Vegas. And folks, if you don't think I know what I'm talking about, I guarantee you I've been running numbers for a very, very long time. I can't tell you how many words or how many years, because it might date me, if you know what I mean. Anyway, folks, we're going to be back here with a little bit more on that, a little bit of college football. I'm going to jump into the NFL playoffs in just a few moments right here on your favorite station. Don't go anywhere. Lots more to come.
Attention business owners, you and your customers are listening to this right now. Face it, every business needs customers, even yours. The Sports Circus is a primetime nationally syndicated program that's carried on ABC, NBC, CNBC, and Westwood One News affiliates, plus CBS, Fox, and NBC sports affiliates across North America, with coverage from Hawaii to New York. Also, the Sports Circus is available to the 180 million subscribers on iHeartRadio, and the Sports Circus gets about 4 million website visitors per month, which could click through your website and bring sales. The Sports Circus provides great content featuring celebrity guests from sports and entertainment to our audience every weekday, which your company could greatly benefit from by increasing your visibility, foot traffic, eyeballs to your website, and calls from potential customers. Call us right now at 702-799-9935. Again, 702-799-9935. Or email us at info@thesportscircus.com. That's info@thesportscircus.com. Drive your sales today by advertising with the Sports Circus.
Could you use a little extra money right now? If you'd like to borrow up to $100,000 and get pre-approved in minutes, call the number we'll give you at the end of this commercial. Our lending partners have already loaned millions of dollars to individuals just like you, and we're ready to lend you up to $100,000 if you qualify. Even if your credit is not perfect, you could use the money to pay off high-interest credit cards, for home renovations, or consolidate existing debt. You can get flexible, easy-to-pay terms. The consultation to find out if you qualify is free. To find out if you qualify for our special financing program, call this toll-free number 24 hours a day. 800-335-1376. 800-335-1376. 800-335-1376. That's 800-335-1376. Important terms and conditions apply. Not all applicants will qualify. Loan amount, annual percentage rate, and term will vary depending on creditworthiness. Applying does not guarantee approval. Account approval is subject to verification and confirmation of your credit history and acceptance by a lender. If you choose to apply for a loan through us, a consumer report will be obtained to evaluate your creditworthiness in connection with your application for credit.
That's the sound of sizzling, dry-aged USDA Prime Wagyu and Angus steaks from UppercutChops.com. Their best-in-class filet mignons, New York steaks, and the king of all steaks, the tomahawk and cowboy cut ribeyes are the best in the business. Even their Prime Wagyu burgers will likely be the best you've ever had. Browse the full selection of steaks and chops at UppercutChops.com from the comfort of your home or on your mobile device. UppercutChops.com delivers all-natural, dry-aged USDA Prime Wagyu and Angus steaks and chops directly to your door, without the hassle of going to the grocery store and fight crowds to pick from a small selection of average at best meats with injected steroids, fillers, and coloring added to look good. Find out what's for dinner at UppercutChops.com or call 702-799-9935. That's 702-799-9935. 702-799-9935. Or make your selection directly at UppercutChops.com.
back to the Sports Circus. I'm Roy Firestone. Now it's time to throw it back to Sal.
Welcome back to the Sports Circus. I'm your Ringmaster Sal, live from Las Vegas in the AMP TV studio, AAMP.TV. Folks, make sure you check out the sportscircus.com for upcoming guests, our prior guests, our recorded shows, which are our podcast. They're recorded in full and available on pick your favorite platform, Apple, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Google, Amazon, Audible, you name it, Pandora. We're there. You can't get away from us. Also, make sure you check out some of the partners that are on our partners page. In fact, one of those long-standing partners that's been with us for quite some time is Al's Italian Beef at 1079 West Taylor Street in Chicago, the creator of the Italian beef sandwich. And this is for everybody watching on the Chicago Food Favorites page on Facebook. Yes! Chicago Food Favorites on Facebook. Again, Al's Italian Beef, Al's number one Italian Beef, 1079 West Taylor Street. Folks, we don't get anything for saying this. We just love it. And those are our friends. Go down there and see Bones. Tell them the circus sent you. And by the way, maybe you live far away from Chicago, from Little Italy in Chicago like I do. So maybe you can go to goldbelly.com and pick up whatever that you're looking for from Al's number one Italian Beef, goldbelly.com. Just type in Al's Beef in the little field and find out what's available for you and find out what's for dinner. All right, that's good stuff. And normally it's uppercut chops from the top of the show. We're going to do that one in the next segment. All right, welcome back to everybody listening in on our CBS, NBC, and Fox Sports affiliates, including our friends over in Honolulu on CBS Sports 1500 KHKA. That's home of the New York Yankees and the Alabama Crimson Tide. Welcome to everybody that has listened with us for years and years over in Southern California on our CNBC and NBC News affiliate over there, 106.5, 102.3 FM, and 1050 AM. If you're listening in right now, thank you. If you're not listening and you're not carried by us, guess what? You can always go and listen to our recorded shows once again. Nonetheless, big welcome to everybody right here in Las Vegas and all the way over in Auburn, Alabama, WAD, home of the Atlanta Braves. That's 1230 on the AM dial, as well as 99.1 FM in Atlanta, WDJY, WBGY over in Southwest Florida, and another 206 stations across America. Folks, we can't do this and name them all off. We'll already be at commercial break if we did. All right, also welcome back to everybody watching on TV, everybody watching on Facebook. Thank you again. Folks, if you have questions or comments, maybe a topic that you want covered, or maybe you just want to be heard, you can do one of two things. Either A, you can call 702-799-9935, 702-799-9935, and maybe I'll answer the phone. But you got to watch your language because we don't want to get sent to the principal's office. It's a $100,000 fine for bad words over the air on real radio and TV. This is not a podcast. This is a real show, right? So there's a big difference between the two. So if you have a thought, a comment, maybe something that you want to watch or maybe something that you want to cover. And Clay, thanks for watching us on Facebook. End of day, we'll go ahead and we'll talk about your topic if you want. So maybe your topic is the NFL and the playoffs, right? So we've got that right here, right in front of us right now. And so coming up, we've got, I think, 6 games. We do have 6 games, and the games are kind of intriguing. Some of them they seem to be easy picks, and maybe some aren't. But let's think about this. Let's go right from the very first one here. Let's start with the AFC and talk about Buffalo and Pittsburgh. I mean, Pittsburgh is on a roll going the right way, but guess what? So is Buffalo. Buffalo has kind of gotten their act together, and these guys are playing good ball. They're playing good team football. They're not necessarily setting the world afire with great stats. Nobody gives a damn about stats. What are we after? Good team continuity, good chemistry. The Pittsburgh Steelers have a lot of that right now, right? So there's that Pittsburgh Steeler helmet. That's a game-used helmet, folks. Check it. Well, actually, I'm not going to pull it down. Nonetheless, that's a game-used helmet. And we actually had a Cleveland Browns helmet. And loyal listener Larry, he's been listening for, 7+ years to the Sports Circus. Larry ended up getting that wonderful Cleveland Browns helmet for Christmas. Compliments of the Sports Circus. So back to this Buffalo and Pittsburgh game. I mean, what are we really looking for? I don't know what we're looking for outside of a good team game. We're not trying to look for Josh Allen to pass for 400 yards and 4 touchdowns and stuff like that. That's not what this is about. Let's go to the point spread. The point spread kind of tells the story here. Now, the line opened up at 10, and the line is still 10. Buffalo is a solid 10. Now, mind you, this is the playoffs. And in many cases, when you see double-digit lines in the playoffs, in many cases, it is the favorite that wins and covers. That's a big line. But they have the line set at 10 for a very good reason. Now, obviously, Watt's not going to be playing for Pittsburgh, and that attributes maybe an extra 4 to 5 points for Pittsburgh. I'm sorry, for Buffalo. If that is the case, they're probably saying, look, first of all, home team gets 3 points added to the total. So if they're playing on a neutral field, that line goes from 10, it goes down from 10 to 7. Yes, it's live, folks. We keep all the mistakes in there, too. So the line really goes down to 7. So really, the odds makers are saying, on a neutral field, Buffalo is a touchdown better than Pittsburgh. I would agree with that. But now with the loss of Watt, I don't think Watt's going to be playing here. And now, if so, that line's going to dip down very quickly, maybe down to 7.5 or something like that. But I think 10 is a fair number, and I can't see how Buffalo doesn't cover the 10 at home, and it's likely going to be a blizzard there. So it could be one of those 16-10 kind of games or 17-6, or I'm not looking for a lot out of Pittsburgh. Harris will probably, I'm going to guess, have maybe 80 or 90 yards, but they're going to rely heavily on this kid. And I really don't look for any productivity out of the quarterback position for Pittsburgh whatsoever. I think it's going to be very tough sledding for Pittsburgh, a very quick out for the Steelers. I don't even know how they stay in this game, but Buffalo will probably win a very low-scoring game by maybe 11 points or something to the effect, 17-6 or 21-10, one of those kind of games. Now, when we look at the over and under, by the way, the total points on that game is 36. It's 36 across the board. The only one place actually has it at less than the standard 36 from across the board from everybody. And if I'm not mistaken, that's one of those online betting venues. So that one really doesn't matter. All the casinos have it at 36. So I'm looking for the Bills and under. Giving you a free one here. The Bills and under 36, actually 36.5 according to MGM. So there's a lot of reasons that game could end up 21-10 or 17-6 or, I mean, hell, it could even end up 27-7 or something like that. I really don't even see Pittsburgh scoring touchdown, maybe 2 or possibly 3 field goals. And there's that 27-9 or 36 total, just under the total by the hook, which gives 36 points. Now, that's pretty good analysis right there. Now, the next game we have, of course, the winner of that game will go and play Baltimore. As we see it right now, things could change. Now, Kansas City is going down to Miami. A very good game, a very interesting game for a lot of reasons. But we think about what is at stake here. It's not just a football game. The network does what? The network tries to push an agenda. And how does politics fit into this whole thing? I'll tell you how politics may fit into it as I see it. It's very obvious that they're pushing, being the networks, are pushing Taylor Swift onto the masses, right? The old Travis Kelce thing, whatever. Because she's a big influencer, way bigger than anybody in the NFL as it stands. So she matters according to a particular political agenda. Whether it's a red team or this team right here, this color, okay? My belief is that she aligns with this color, right? Everybody watching on TV can see this. And therefore, they're going to push that, and they want the Kansas City Chiefs to at least win at least one game for maximum visibility. You may think that I'm on crack or something, but I'm not. There's a lot more to this, folks. It's not just, Patrick Mahomes and Tua. No. I mean, Kansas City is likely going to win the game anyway. It doesn't really matter. But I think there's a bigger agenda here which wants that visibility for that element. I think Kansas City covers the 4. And we think about that total points of 44. I'm looking for Kansas City and under 44. 44 and a half at Caesars Palace, but we're going to go with the consensus at 44. Actually at DraftKings too, but it doesn't really matter much now, does it? But reality is, this is going to be Kansas City and under in this game. Another free one from placeyourbet.vegas. Check it out. Get all your prognostication services and whatnot at placeyourbet.vegas. It's legit, folks. The win percentage is crazy. Go to the page, find it, read it, learn it, live it, and do what? Bank it.
Show me the money!
That's right. I can't do that just yet. All right, our next game is the final one in the AFC before we go ahead and actually we're going to go to break in just a moment here. But it's Houston, a very, very intriguing game between Houston and Cleveland. Think about what's at stake here besides the obvious. Think about that one. Now we're going to go to break here in just a moment. And I want you to think about a question. Send me a question right on Facebook. If you're watching this on Facebook, go ahead and send a question. Put it in the comment section. I'll see it. I'll read it. Then we can discuss it. And if your comment's good enough, maybe I'll bring you in on the video if I can. I'll have a fit to figure out how to do this. But anyway, folks, make sure you come back here in just a few minutes on the Sports Circus. We're going to continue with the NFL playoffs right here on your favorite station. Don't go anywhere. I'm your Ringmaster Sal of the Sports Circus, a primetime, nationally syndicated television, radio, sports, and entertainment show. The Sports Circus covers topics others are too scared to talk about. There's no other primetime show like it on here that'll punch you in the face and you'll beg for more. Join me, Hall of Famers, world champions, and all-star celebrity guests for chaos and controversy here on Libsyn and all podcast platforms, plus thesportscircus.com. Remember, folks, it's a circus and we prove it every day.
If you are trying to quit drinking or doing too many drugs, listen to me. You don't know me and we'll never meet. I had a problem like you once. I drank and used to party a little too much till it got out of control and almost ruined my life. I realized I needed help to fix my problem before it totally destroyed me. If you've tried to fix your drinking and drug problem and you know you can't do it alone, you need to call the National Treatment Advisors. They'll immerse you into a 30-day program to replace your old habits with new habits and totally change your life. And if you have PPO private health insurance, the entire program may be covered. Fix your problem right now before it gets any worse. Get clean. Call now and learn more.
800-957-6209. 800-957-6209. 800-957-6209. That's 800-957-6209.
The old way of living with diabetes is a pain. You've got to remember to do your testing and always need to stick your fingers to test your blood sugar. The new way to live your life with diabetes is with a continuous glucose monitor. Apply a discrete sensor on your body, and it continuously monitors your glucose levels, helping you spend more time in range and freeing you from painful finger sticks. If you are living with type 1 or type 2 diabetes and you use insulin or have had hypoglycemic events, you might be eligible for a CGM through your insurance benefits. U.S. Med partners with over 500 private insurance companies and Medicare. We offer free shipping, 90-day supplies, and we bill your insurance. Call us today for a free benefits check.
800-659-7805. 800-659-7805. 800-659-7805. That's 800-659-7805.
That's ridiculous.
Quiet, numbskulls, I'm broadcasting.
Hey everyone, Dave Jackson here, ESPN rules analyst on ESPN Hockey, and you're listening to the Sports Circus.
back to the Sports Circus. I'm your Ringmaster Sal, live from Las Vegas in the AMP TV studio. That's AAMP.TV. Stands for All Ages Media Programming Television. Maybe you want to have your own podcast or whatnot produced and, more importantly, distributed to television and radio. Info at AAMP.TV. That's info at AAMP.TV. That'll be a little bit different than these 3 million podcasts that are sitting out there, and do something different and get the big sponsors, the big car companies, whatever big organizations. Because, you know, folks, maybe what you don't know in this is you may want to be a podcaster, but reality is you want to be a regular broadcaster, because if you do that, then your audience likely is going to be a lot better than the average person. Now, unless you're in the top 1% of 1%, you know who those big names are that are sitting out there that get all this attention and whatnot, and good for them. Of course, we always applaud them, and I'm happy for them because, you know, folks, you know, some people say, well, you know, Joe Rogan's only been doing this a short time. No, he hasn't. He's been doing it for decades, and he has earned his position. So if anything, you should applaud a guy like Joe Rogan and strive to be bigger. But if you can't make it to that level in following on social media, you probably want to do a regular broadcast show so you actually have a chance to get some sponsors, and people will drive along, maybe in their cars or whatnot, and they can turn the radio on and listen to you. They can flick the TV on and they can watch you on real TV and real radio. Again, AAMP.TV, AMP TV. But for information on how to put those programs together into a real TV or radio show, it's info at AAMP.TV. Info at AAMP.TV. All right, welcome back to everybody on radio and television and streaming, and everybody, of course, watching us on Chicago Food Favorites on Facebook. Chicago Food Favorites. Make sure you like and follow and post your great food pictures or memories or thoughts, whatever the hell. It's all fun, folks. There's no money. It's kind of like that show. What was one of my favorite shows on TV is Whose Line It Is Anyway, right? So there's points that they're giving out, but the points are meaningless, right? So it doesn't really matter. You can have 1 billion points for something, but the points don't mean anything. It's just for fun, just like the food favorites page. And by the way, we have some great food guests coming up, but we can't tell you about who it is just yet. But wait till you see. If you don't know what we do here on this program, if you're new to this, go to thesportscircus.com and look at our featured guest list. It is an, oh my God, list of people from sports and entertainment and music. I mean, look, from Super Bowl champions to World Series champions, NBA champions, Stanley Cup champions, Hall of Famers, All-Stars. That's really all we bring on here in the sporting world. And by the way, even auto racing, we had Mario Andretti on this show as well. A racing legend, living legend. But everything from music to Grammy Award winners, Rock and Roll Hall of Famers. Yes, they've all been here. Superstar, Academy Award winners. Yes, big producers and directors. We've had those. Presidential candidates. We've had those. Big community leaders. We've also had big scientific leaders, billionaires from the business world. That's what comes onto this show. And we've been building it for over 7 years. Over 7 years to build this. Thank you. And it's been a lot of fun, and we're going to keep on trucking. Thousands of hours into this, we're still doing it. So we start out maybe just like you with an idea of a show. Maybe you don't like this one. Maybe you're like, I'm better than that guy. Maybe you are. Maybe you're not. It doesn't matter. Just have fun with it. Speaking of fun, back to this NFL thing. We're talking about games coming up this weekend, and we left off with probably the most intriguing AFC matchup, which is Houston visiting Cleveland. Now, this is going to be a good one. Houston's riding a big high. They got Stroud back. Man, let me tell you something. Here is the only quarterback that I know of in Ohio State history. Not a fan of Ohio State, the Zeros, right? They have a big zero at the 50-yard line. I just call them the Zeros. Anyway, the reality is this is the first time there's been a really good-looking quarterback. And I mean, this guy's, he's got the tools. And he's showing that he actually is a good quarterback. C.J. Stroud, a very good quarterback. What? Ohio State, what? Quarterback, what? They put everything else out on the field except quarterbacks until this guy come along. And now they're going to play Cleveland in likely a blizzard. This is going to be a fun one. So you have a dome team, but a quarterback that's played in cold weather in Columbus, Ohio. So he's going back to Ohio to play the Cleveland Browns, that big bad defense. Let me tell you something, folks. Those Browns are no joke. They got Joe Flacco as their quarterback, and I like it. You know why I like it? Because this guy's been in the rodeo before. He's already won a Super Bowl. He knows what it's like to play in crappy weather, and he also knows what it's like to not necessarily be the most popular guy in football, because he wasn't back when he was with Baltimore, and he still isn't today. But now Joe is 38, and he's still doing it, and he gives hope to all these older quarterbacks. I mean, there's a bunch of good quarterbacks that are out there a little bit older, from Russell Wilson to even Andy Dalton, right? These guys are still hanging around the game. But Joe Flacco is redefining this position in the age thing. Look at Aaron Rodgers. He's on the shelf at 40. He'll be back next season, and he'll be playing at 41. But ultimately, you look at the Houston Texans, and you say, can they really beat Cleveland in Cleveland? Me personally, I don't think so. I think they'll give them a good game. I mean, look, the line itself, you can kind of expect the home field to be worth 3, okay? So therefore, what we're seeing is the Cleveland Browns are a 2.5-point favorites, right? That 2.5 points. But guess what? It's Texans. The Texans are at home. It's not Cleveland, right? So there is no blizzard. Just when you thought I had them playing in the snow, they're not playing in the snow. They're playing in the dome, right? And because they're playing in the dome, it's kind of like playing in the perfect conditions. So what happens here? The Browns are technically a 2.5-point favorite according to the line. But if they were playing at a neutral field, the Browns would be a 5.5-point favorite. Now, that 5.5 points is very important for those people that follow the betting line. If you follow the betting lines, you'll realize that a lot happens in these betting lines. It really does. And so you ask yourself, what happens? Well, 5.5 is sort of a magic number, if you will, right? And when you think about even this, look, this neutral field setup, well, the reality is, if they were in neutral field, Cleveland would be a 5.5-point favorite. Better yet, yeah, they would be a 5.5-point favorite. Somehow the Texans are actually getting 2.5 when really they'd be getting 5.5. So, end of day, throw the line out the window. The Cleveland Browns are going to win this game. I don't care where they're playing. I don't care if they're playing in Timbuktu or Timbuk3. The Browns arguably are one of the better teams in football that nobody really pays attention to. They're missing Nick Chubb. First of all, they've been missing him almost the entire season. A guy got hurt, best back in the game. And they've got a great defense. But what they had is next man up mentality for the running back position. And the Cleveland Browns have won a bunch of close games, and that's where they're dangerous. So look for this to be a very close game, but I think the Browns get themselves maybe a field goal win and maybe win something to the tune of 20-17, this kind of a game. I don't look for a lot of offense in this game. The Browns have won those types of games most of the year. And let's face it, folks, when you look at the Browns, their 11-6 record, a lot of those are less than 1 touchdown. And, of course, Houston got their quarterback back, finished up winning the division last week, and now they won it at a 10-7 record. Is Houston good enough to win a playoff game? Sure they are. Not this time. This one's the Cleveland Browns. Now, let's take a quick look at the NFC, because one of the games that is probably a little confusing to people would be Tampa Bay and Philadelphia. And I like this one for a lot of reasons. I mean, look, Philadelphia is reeling right now, and Philadelphia is still a road favorite. They're a 3-point favorite to win at the Pirate Ship. What are your thoughts about that? I got to tell you, folks, Baker Mayfield has gotten a new lease on life. He's got a couple of good receivers down there in Tampa. He's got himself, what? A decent defense. Don't look now, but the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are a pretty good squad, and the Eagles have been reeling. I think they've lost their last 5 out of 6, but they've got to go and play a road game in the playoffs. They say, well, we've been here before. Maybe you have, but where's the confidence lie with the Eagles organization right now? I mean, Philadelphia, pound for pound, is a better team. But they are going in the wrong direction. For the last month and a half, they're going in the wrong direction. Meanwhile, back at the ranch, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are going in the right direction. And so you should be asking yourself, well, wait a minute. I mean, yeah, Tampa Bay won over a tiebreaker over the Saints for the last playoff spot. They won the division, the NFC South, at the same record as the New Orleans Saints. But this Tampa team is a pretty good squad. And right now, Philadelphia is in big trouble. So, look, I would like to take the 3 points as the home team dog. I'll take that one all day and twice on Sunday. And by the way, that over and under is 43.5. And we'll call it 44 as a consensus. Watch and see if they don't score 70 points in that game. Look for a high-scoring game there, folks. Tell you what, we're going to be back here in just a few minutes on the circus. We're going to finish out the NFL playoffs and go from there. Lots more to come. Back in a few.
Can't beat fun at the old ballpark, friends. Hi, Popeye. That would be a home run in a phone booth. I don't know what the big deal about Cracker Jack is. Did you ever go and buy a pack of Cracker Jack thinking you're going to get a prize and find no prize in the box? Here's the pitch. That might not sound important to some people when you're a little kid, especially from humble origin, and they cheat you out of a prize. There's a bouncing ball. Second baseman has a Barbary over to first. It's hard to think in laudatory terms of the product.
I think if there was an occasional box of Cracker Jacks that found no prizes for the little Harry Carey many years ago.
You got that right. And boy, when a box of Cracker Jack to me meant a lot of money. Here's a pitch, bounce foul. That's the most asinine marketing I've ever heard of. 1 ball, 1 strike. These guys say, well, you sing about Cracker Jack. I said that I only sing it because it's in the song. Here's a pitch foul back. And I wouldn't be a bit surprised, even to this day, some youngsters who buy a box of Cracker Jack don't find a prize in the box. 1 ball, 2 strikes, 2 out. Well, if you're going to talk about a congressman being crooked, here's a pitch foul out of play. Why not talk about commercial products who don't do what they represent to do?
There's a smash to Squires. He's got it. 1, 2, 3, nothing across. We're going to the bottom of the 7th now to score. All tied up. Milwaukee 4, the White Sox 4. Hey! Everybody! All right, Nancy, let me hear you. Take me out to the ball game. Take me out to the crowd. Buy me some peanuts and Cracker Jack. I don't care if I ever get back for its root for the White Sox. If they don't win, it's a shame. Or it's 1, 2, 3 strikes, you're out at the old ball game.
There's a drive. Way back. It might be. It could be. And it is. Holy cow. This crowd is wild.
Welcome back to the Sports Circus. I'm Al Bubba Baker, quarterback breaker and the rib maker.
Welcome back back to the Sports Circus. I'm your Ringmaster Sal, live from Las Vegas in the AMP TV studio, AAMP.TV. This segment brought to you in part by our friends over at UppercutChops.com. Check out their tasty selection of all natural, dry-aged USDA Wagyu steaks and chops. All prime Wagyu steaks and chops. Wait till you taste their best-in-class New York steaks. The filet mignon, of course, the king of all, those massive cowboy cut and tomahawk cut ribeyes. Best I've ever had. Probably be the best you ever had as well. Check them out at UppercutChops.com. That's www.uppercutchops.com. Or give them a call, find out what's for dinner. 702-799-9935. 702-799-9935 for UppercutChops.com. All right, a big welcome back to everybody watching on Chicago Food Favorites on Facebook. Folks, if you haven't been there, go to Facebook, like and follow, and join in the fun. Just hit join or whatever the hell it is. Hit join and participate in the conversation. Post your favorite food photos, whatever the heck it is. It doesn't matter. The page started about a week ago, and it's picking up steam. People like it because there are no restrictions, except you can't call pizza za. That's the stupidest thing I've ever heard in my life. Why would you call pizza za? Oh, it's crazy. Anyway, and don't call it a pie. Now, unless, of course, you're from New York or something like that, they call pizzas pie over there. In Chicago, they don't do that. It's a pizza. So call it a pizza, if you know what I mean. All right. All right. Also, make sure you like, subscribe, and follow us on Instagram. That's TSC Show. TSC Show. You and the other 45,000 people will, I guess, be able to tune into everything we're doing here. We don't really work social media that much, but we're getting better at it, I promise. Also on Facebook, as you know, you can find us at Sports Circus. And also on X, which was Twitter, whatever you want to call it now, we are at the Sports Circus. All right, welcome back to everybody again. All right, back to this NFL playoff. So I had said, in the last segment, we've gone over the AFC, and just in summary, in case you're just tuning in, I was thinking that the Browns would get themselves a really close, hard-fought victory over the Texans. I think the Chiefs would cover against the Dolphins, and I've got the Bills covering an under against the Steelers. Now, in the NFC, we did talk briefly about the Eagles and the Buccaneers. Of course, that game played down in Tampa. Tampa's going to win that game, folks. Tampa's going to shock the world, and they're going to win that game. Now, let's move into a real sore spot, which is the Detroit Lions hosting Matthew Stafford, their old quarterback, and the LA Rams. Let's think about this one for a moment. So, Detroit gets the short end of a stick very clearly. In my opinion, this game was as fixed as the day is long, right? The Dallas Cowboys, again, that's my opinion. I'm entitled to it. The Dallas Cowboys, they had the big day for Jimmy Johnson, the Ring of Honor and all that stuff. Okay, great. So Dallas and Jerry Jones, they're going to get themselves a W, which conveniently they did, right? But it was that Detroit was basically, in my opinion, cheated out of that 2-point conversion at the end of the game. They had the game won. They had the game won. And somehow magically, there was illegal touching from somebody that allegedly didn't report, which they did apparently report. Everybody in the world that watched the game saw that. So anyway, in this crazy world that we live in games that appear to be fixed, if you know what I mean, the Detroit Lions come back. They get themselves a 30-20 win last week against the Minnesota Vikings. And big deal. The game didn't really mean anything. So now it is Detroit with a home game, a home playoff game for a first time in a very, very long time. And they find themselves favored over the LA Rams, but you can call them the South Central Sheep. So that line is 3.5 in two places, Bet365 and also DraftKings, whatever, another one of those online betting things. But the casinos all have them at 3. So what they're saying technically, home team's worth 3. This is an indoor environment. They both play indoors. Technically, the odds makers are saying, look, we don't know who's going to win this game. Flip a coin if you're playing in a neutral field. But since Detroit is playing at home, we'll give them 3 points, which is exactly what the home field is worth in football. In basketball, home court is worth 2 points or 1 bucket. a field goal, not to be confused with a field goal of 3 points, really a regular 2-point shot in basketball. But we're talking football. So a field goal is the difference as far as the odds makers go. Now, you ask yourself, is the Rams defense peaking at the right time? Is the Lions offense good enough to get past a Rams defense that is starting to play pretty good football? Now, the Rams, look, they've been kind of sputtering along most of the season. But the Rams defense is no joke. And, of course, the Rams offense, of course, with a healthy Cooper Kupp, may make a little bit of a difference in this game. But are the Lions too much at home? The Lions do have some good weapons. That's for sure. And they've got a quarterback versus their old quarterback. So these two teams, the quarterbacks are playing one another. Right? So you've got the former Rams quarterback that was swapped for the former Lions quarterback. The former Lions quarterback goes to LA and gets a Super Bowl handed to him in a clear, and I mean clear as the sky is blue, clear as my eyes are blue, clear as the shirt is blue, clear as the writing on this hat is blue. Listen, if you watch the Rams and the Bengals like I did, you probably saw some things in that game that would make you scratch your head and say, gee, that doesn't look right. I saw Aaron Donald line up in the neutral zone on a 4th and 3, but magically that didn't get called. That would have continued on the Bengals drive. The Bengals were going in for the game tying and possibly game-winning drive in the Super Bowl just a couple of years ago or so. All right, remember that one? So listen, Matthew Stafford was handed a Super Bowl. Conveniently, of course. It was a home field Super Bowl. Well, guess what? Now these two teams are playing their old teams, this time for a game that actually matters. Detroit is a 3-point favorite. I'm going to lay the 3 points. I'm going to take the Detroit Lions because I believe the Detroit Lions are going to win this game by maybe 4 points, maybe in a 28-24 type of a game or a 31-27 kind of game. Look, the Rams defensively have been holding teams to about 17 points a game, thereabouts. But this is a road game. Detroit is a pretty good team at home. Where's the pressure? The pressure on this one goes to the Rams defense because Detroit is a good team and they're playing at home. I'm going to give this one to Detroit, and the over and under, here's the interesting part, the point total in this game is actually 51.5. Now, I just said 31 or 28-24. I said 28-24. That's 52 points. Well, guess what? The over and under, according to, well, two of these odds makers, is 52, which is exactly what I just said, and 51.5 everywhere else. So imagine what could happen there. How about Detroit and over the point total? They'll be going over the 51.5 by the hook with that score that I just gave. That is a pretty interesting analysis, if you know what I mean. And the final game, which is Green Bay, travels to Dallas. And so here is a conundrum. And you've got a McCarthy-coached team that has been playing pretty well overall. The Cowboys, boy, they've been real hit or miss. But the bigger question is, can McCarthy do it in the postseason? Or will Green Bay pull some magic out of their you-know-whats and get themselves into a position to win the game late? Now, Green Bay is getting 7.5 points across the board. All the casinos, all the online venues, etc., etc. 7.5 points. So basically the odds makers are saying, okay, Dallas is a 4.5 point better team. Okay, maybe they are. Okay, and the over and under is 50.5. So what does that mean? 50.5. That's 28-23, 28-23 kind of a game, something like this. I don't know, 30-20, whatever. Folks, I got to tell you, I think McCarthy's woes are going to hit the wall right here, and McCarthy is going to potentially be ousted out of his position if his team can't beat his old team. I think the Packers get themselves an upset win. That's right. Green Bay, I'm taking Green Bay with the 7.5 points, and I'm going over the 50.5. And I'm thinking it's going to be Green Bay that wins that game in Dallas. That's right. So imagine this. Imagine Dallas losing. Imagine Philadelphia losing. And those two contenders paving the way for San Francisco, who is clearly the best team in football today. Folks, it's not even close. The 49ers are like Michigan in college football. They're great on all three sides of the ball. And they probably have the best arsenal, both running and from a receiving standpoint. Man, these guys are good. I mean, they're really good. I don't see how San Francisco doesn't come out of the NFC. And let's face it, San Francisco in the first game, they'd have to play the winner of the Detroit and LA game, if I'm not mistaken. Either one of those teams are not going to beat San Francisco. And even if it's Tampa or Philadelphia, let's say Philadelphia gets lucky, beats Tampa, right? Then what's going to happen is they're going to end up playing likely San Francisco. And San Francisco is just going to put an ass whooping on them, just like they did a handful of weeks ago in Philadelphia. They gave them a good old-fashioned ass whooping. I mean, it was ugly. And I would look for more of the same. So San Francisco will come out of the NFC, and out of the AFC, it would be interesting to see, and I think we're going to see it. We're going to see Cleveland play Baltimore. I'm going to actually give Baltimore their Lamar Jackson's first playoff win. He's the MVP candidate guy. Fine, let's let him get a win. But they're going to have to play Cleveland, and they'll be a big favorite over Cleveland. Make no mistake, the Cleveland Browns may get to the Super Bowl this year. I mean, they're not going to beat San Francisco, but end of day, the media wants to see Baltimore and San Francisco. They want a rematch of what we just saw recently. Right? And then San Francisco would avenge the loss anyway, whatever. But you typically don't see those. Look for Cleveland to possibly slip in there. I don't see Miami or Kansas City in there. I'm sorry. Not lately. If you asked me earlier in the season, I would have said Miami was going to be there. Not this time. I somehow think in a crazy way, this kooky world, the Cleveland Browns are going to face the San Francisco 49ers in the Super Bowl, and the Niners will probably win that one going away, and they'll win like they did against the Chargers in Super Bowl, whatever the hell it was, when they won by 30. Basically, they had it won in the first quarter. Anyway, folks, that's going to do it for the circus today. I'm your Ringmaster Sal, and make sure you go to Chicago Food Favorites on Facebook, and make sure you join the club, join the page, whatever, have some fun, and it's all for free and it's all for fun, folks. No money's involved. Let's just talk food. We'll see you in about 23 hours right here on your favorite station. Everybody on television, thanks for joining us. Everybody on radio, you as well, and on streaming, we'll see you soon. So long, everyone.
If you served in the Marine Corps, by now you know about the contaminated water problem at Camp Lejeune. If you were stationed or worked at Camp Lejeune from 1953 to 1987, you probably have a lot of questions. We have some answers. You could be entitled to compensation. Billions of dollars are being allocated to pay for damages to anyone stationed at Camp Lejeune during that time. Unfortunately, it appears that officials may have known the contaminated water problem existed and did little to protect their men. The Semper Fi code was not honored. If you or someone in your family has developed a serious illness, including various forms of cancer, call this Camp Lejeune legal support line right now. You can't turn back the clock and change what happened, but you can certainly call right now and learn your rights as a Marine. Here's the number.
Call 800-335-7196. 800-335-7196. That's 800-335-7196. Paid for by Legal Alert Line.